So many changes now in Brawl Stars to consider when it comes to every single update that we have. So going into Layer Cake for Bounty up first. And again, that early start is something that both teams here will highly value and highly crave here. Let's see what both sides are thinking as we get into our draft very shortly.
Yeah, despite the changes to Bounty, you know, the max to 20 stars now, as you said, the blue star is just as important as it ever was. Just really got to make sure that, you know, you lock in a good early game, because if you can play more defensive while your opponents are going to be running into your range and you really are the one dealing the cards. But looking at the draft here, our bans are already lined up. A Penny first pick here from Clash. Not a big surprise. Penny's been in a pretty decent place for a while now, and obviously the new gear helps out a bit as well, but not necessarily my go-to when it comes to this map. I mean, I think it's alright. I just feel like it's a bit lackluster of a pick in my opinion. Just not really the most colorful early pick, but that's kind of what you want as well, to just not get heavy counter too much with your early picks.
Is it just me, or is that head on the desk looking a little bit creepy, Teddy? Max coming in for Bandit DeLucas. And it was an 18% predictions in favor of Bandit DeLucas taking the victory. So definitely a higher percentage favoring Clash here, as they do have quite a considerable fan base. Max in Layer Cake definitely screams to me a very aggressive idea. Interesting to see as well the Grey being banned on both sides, as the Grey was really the thorn in the sides of Clash last month. And Bandit DeLucas played it really well. Meg coming in, and this is what I'm saying about Meg. She's pretty much viable everywhere now, even in Layer Cake. But let's see whether it gets the all-important win. But play-wise, I don't see a problem with it. It's very suppressive, and I think in that respect, Clash have got to be a little bit careful to not find themselves too frequently within their back spawn area without a plan. Sprout would be a good, solid shout for those later drafts, but not really in the position to pick it. It will be countered surely by Bandit DeLucas if they do. Jean coming in to try to get that magic hand working within the mid, and also apply a great deal more pressure when forcing their opposition back against the ropes. Something though now needed on the lane side to come in here, and that's what they're thinking next. Will it be something of an aggressive nature? Tanks are hard for them to pick at this point in time. We often tend to see an Asher or Sam, but you know, it's going to be definitely in the favor of Bandit DeLucas in that respect when it comes to the coin flip.
Yeah, you know, Meg is just a little bit overpowered when she's being brought into Layer Cake, right? It's a threatening brawler pretty much everywhere, even outside of her usual comfort zone. At least for the moment. We'll see the Leon as the last pick. A brawler that has been creeping back up the meta, but really slowly. I've yet to be overly convinced by it myself, but it's definitely not a bad pick either. So I like the ideas here from Clash, and perhaps maybe even go for an assassination onto that Meg if she's inside of her mech and being too much of a nuisance. We'll see the Janet last pick. Not necessarily the most common last pick, to be honest. It's usually a brawler that you will bring in really early into your draft because it doesn't really get countered too much, but it also doesn't really counter other brawlers as much as you would really like for a last pick. So an interesting approach here from BDL. Maybe they just didn't really see a big weakness to Clash's comp and decided that, you know, Janet is good enough. At least it's not going to be weakening up their comp, and it's a brawler that is incredibly versatile and can still get a lot of work done.
Definitely worthy to mention as well that Bounty has had a bit of a mix-up now, in a good way, in my opinion, absolutely so. A new win condition now. If you reach 20 stars before your opposition, then the match will end. Of course, the blue star will still act as that win condition for the tie breaker, but definitely a consideration to be had, as if one of these two teams really do start to get a bit of a snowball effect, then they could effectively end the game earlier than the normal playtime. It's just the blue star for now in the hands of Adino, as Clash start to move forwards a little bit. Dog trying to connect a few shots, but not really able to do so. Wesley on the right-hand side, though, will feed in a little bit. Look at that positioning there from Dino. Goes in so aggressive, completely out of position, and survives with a little helping hand from Wesley in the body blocks department. But at the moment, it is still just that blue star. No team member gone down for either side. Magic hand for Dog. That would have been a good time to use it for the speed. You can get away, makes a lot of sense. Dog, we got to heal up now.
Yeah, Dog was one tick away from going down to the drop to base there. That was a lot closer than he would have liked. Does have pull now as well, but the Meg is not really going to be a good target for it, considering she has her super, and a swipe to the face would be quite deadly. QLASH needs to be very careful about how he wants to use this pull, obviously. The Max is also not a good target, but a nice kill from Pitinho on the left-hand side. It's gonna be the first kill of this game, and giving 2 extra stars to Bandit Lucas.
Oh, beautiful plays from him. The way he just dodged the magic hand there with 4 stars as well on low HP. Really doing work there for Bandit Lucas. QLASH have yet to get a single kill. We were talking about the new win condition and they haven't even got close. Tufa coming in though. It does find something, a bit of damage, and a takedown to follow. Oh, it's a turnaround. The blue star with QLASH. Are they going to steal this away? 5 seconds is not enough time to contest it. I don't think. Certainly not with a salty barrel. And bad
time, then well spotted by QLASH. Let's see if they can replicate that getting into game 2.
Very, very aggressive in the mid there from Tufa and QLASH. Dino was very lucky to survive it, let's be honest. But now, going back into the spawn side just to heal up, and has allowed then Bandit Lucas to get themselves a bit more firmly put in the mid. He's seen with some nice shots on the right-hand side as well, just connecting to Wesley. Would like to have that turret on defense, no doubt about it. Drop the base on the left. Tufa is going to be in a bad spot. He's got to go to the right. He's going to pop the invis to heal, but he has been found. He's healing up and just staying put. Not much he can really do, but the pull there from QLASH is great. But Tufa's still in trouble. He's got to get out of that corner, and finally the drop the gate base goes down. But look at Wesley's position, just going to town on this spawn.
Yeah, he's looking for QLASH, but the body blocking is so on point. The magic puffs keeping Tufa alive, but at last someone falls. It's going to be QLASH himself as Pitinho pushes up and takes him down. Has flight now as well and strikes again. VT Zim goes down, and 3 stars now favoring Bandit Lucas.
What a great start for them, but we saw that last time, didn't we? And look how that went, and QLASH are repositioning themselves. Salty barrel there for VT Zim. Meanwhile, QLASH can't really pull just yet. It's got to heal up a bit more. Penny turret down as well, and that will force the hand. No pun intended, as QLASH thinking it, flashing it, showing it. Will he go for it? That's the question. Gets Pitinho, wants the stars, wants the bounty, and gets it. Body blocking from Tufa, bang on point. Everyone going back for QLASH, and they can afford to do so. They've got the lead and the blue star now with 20 seconds on the clock.
And Wesley is still in the Meg this time around, so that's going to help for this final push. 1 star means that 1 kill is more than enough. They're pushing up. No more drop the bases to force in this fight. A kill already, make it a double for QLASH. And Wesley left on his own outside of his Meg. Not
as require kills, and that was something that Wesley failed to do. But again, I believe he was on the Meg, and maybe that is not a place for Meg. It's still early days. The teams are experimenting with it and trying it pretty much everywhere. Let's be honest, they were in APAC for sure. But Knockout was a map and mode that we didn't see any of Meg, actually. It was primarily not banned and not picked. So I'm not expecting it. I'm not ruling it out, however, with this region, because they do tend to surprise when it comes to their drafts. But and there you go. As I'm saying it, not banned, picked first. Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily mind it. It could have a great deal of range in the mid. You can run the vision gear alongside it as well to be able to counteract it. But maybe that's why they've gone for the Gene ban as well, because that would be a great thing to have for that mid on the side of QLASH. But Janet is still available. That's going to be a very high pick to have here. Maybe even be those long-ranged, high-impact shots as well. Not really convinced on the Mandy ban, but this is the region that do tend to play Mandy more than any other. So I can understand it. I can relate to it. Max is going to come in for QLASH, provide that aggression. But it does require something else alongside it. Penny's available as well. Brock, potentially for those long-ranged affairs. But what will they pair with it? That is the question. Don't mind a bell here myself. Brock, yeah, coming in for QLASH. Love that.
Yeah, I mean, Brock is solid. You know, it's a staple of any sort of long-range map, and there are a lot of bushes, but the flames that stick to the ground will also help scouting just a little bit more. I have a question for you, Ark. I don't know if you would be able to answer. I know that now the shield gear does work on the mech. Do you think the speed gear does too? Because it didn't used to, but I'm starting to believe it might, and that could be something quite interesting on a map with tons of bushes like this.
That's a really valid question. Yeah, I haven't tested that myself. I wouldn't be surprised though either, because obviously the rework has changed quite a great deal. I've been testing some of the other gears as well though recently, and one thing I noticed today was the fact that with the pet damage, or it's now called pet power as a gear, there's definitely some healing qualities and damage qualities that kind of provide some and not others. So Tara's pets are affected and you get more damage out of them, and you also get the damage increase, or rather the healing increase of 20% at the same time. Needs is unaffected by that. Bear star power does not provide 20% more healing, but it seems to be primarily based on Bruce. So there's a bit of an inconsistency there for me in terms of gears and some ideas that aren't quite matching. I'd be very curious to see though if that speed gear is in play, and whether that might be also contributing to why Meg is actually so strong at the moment. But the Grey coming in for Band DeLucas is a bit of an issue actually, because Clash will remember last month on Knockout, same mode, it was a different map. I think it was Bell's Rock from memory, which has now left the map pool as Rups comes in for Clash. This was a great pick for Band DeLucas. It gave them so much over Clash. They struggled to deal with it. And those dimensional doors with that super ability to TP really around your map at will, it's definitely going to be on their minds now. And I'm not necessarily sure whether the Ruffs is the best answer for it. It will definitely provide some supply drops along the way for damage purposes, and that over time will be an advantage. But I don't know, Teddy, how do you feel about it?
I don't mind it. I mean, I'm kind of curious about what the plan is here with the end game for Bandit Lucas. I think that Meg is just a threat overall, and it is just a general problem for any teams to deal with. But I don't know how strong it's going to be here, and I think the speed gear does work, but I'm not entirely sure. I think so, right?
I think it's vision. I think with speed gear, you see those little tiny red arrows pointing upwards. And I think actually there is something. I think it's on Pizzino there on the grey.
Yeah,
so I don't think it's being ran.
I think they were just on top of each other.
But nonetheless, you're completely right in what you're saying. I mean, Meg is so suppressive here. And ultimately with the coverage as well, you can wait the clock out as long as you're not feeding into the shots. And Dino seems to be doing a good job of that. Nice cookie popper there from Wesley, and that will keep that Kaya dog just a bit longer. But for the most part, the Brook is winning in terms of positioning power over the Meg. And obviously, of course, if they can get the Meg out of the mecha, then that will make Adino much more susceptible to being shot towards. Sandbags go down, and as the gas closes in, and there's been a few changes now to the gas as well here in Knockout.
Yeah, it's gonna deal damage based on percentage of total HP. A nice kill though from Tufa, locked in onto pit scene. It's close here. The rocket rain is huge. Adino left in a 1v2 at the end, and I mean the X factor here absolutely was that rocket rain, getting tons of damage and enough for VTZim and Kyodog to close it out.
Feel the Steel got a pretty big nerf, and if Adino was able to survive just a little bit longer to really get that off, you have to earn it now. Previously, you would get it over time as well, a Meg, but now it is something that you do have to land your shots to get back, and it is the biggest weakness for having Meg in Knockout, and it's probably one of the many reasons why we haven't seen it ran in other regions, because it's nothing worse than being out of your mecha in those final moments where you need to come in clutch, and that's something that we see a lot happening in Knockout. Speed for Kyodog about to come in, I feel, as everyone healing up in a good spot. They'd like to be able to juke around this Meg and really get a bit more up close and personal, especially as Adino is low, but now healing up. That is a cause of concern. They've got time on their side ultimately, and there's very little utility available on the other side of things for Brandon DeLucas. Wesley's got the shield, but not much more than that. The heal's coming for Adino, trying to reposition themselves into a more aggressive stance. Shield out for Wesley could provide something of an advantage.
Speed coming through from Kyodog. A pick up from Kyodog himself onto Pizzino. It's a 2-on-2. Wesley 1 versus 1 against Tufa, but he pops the shield, and that might make the difference. It will. The kill comes through, and the round is going to be picked up by Bando de Lucas.
Just in the nick of time there for Wesley, but obviously he had to earn those shots to have the super ready to hand to be able to win the 1v1 anyway, so nothing but skill to be seen there. Because now we reset, and whoever takes this next round will claim the first game here. Definitely means more for Clash to be able to do so, considering that they've already got one set in the pocket. Bando de Lucas need to start to iron out some of these issues, as the momentum is looking pretty decent so far with that round win. Tufa on the left-hand side, low, but Wesley lower. Rocket Rain coming in, but not going to connect, and Wesley will heal up and be unaffected by any of the damage that did come down. And now Clash really getting behind the field promotion there. We don't tend to often see a lot of that star power in play, but ultimately the proximity with the Ruffs will provide more HP over time. Not a huge amount, but enough to make a bit of a difference in the later stages. So survivability really is key here for Clash and remaining clustered. But nonetheless, now the gas comes in, pits in, and low goes down. Wesley as well has to shield himself, and that'll take down VT Zim. Big swipe from Medino. He's 2 for low. Kaya the glow as well. Will he be able to get the win here? Shots allowed him pretty well. The big swipe will land, and Wesley was...
And he completely whiffed it. Needs to be very careful about how he plays it out in this one. Is it did really feel like that was their win condition. Getting that super out is just so much damage. That's how they get a kill, because I mean Max deals okay damage, but Ruffs is gonna be a bit behind when you compare it to Meg, or the sort of burst that you can even get from a Gus pumping his gadget. So they need to be careful, maybe a bit more careful with the trigger on the side of Clash. However, Bandit Lucas, they will welcome that mistake with open arms, because now they are really contesting this second set and have a chance at evening things out.
Yeah, I fully agree. Ultimately, we saw in the previous round just how much Wesley made a difference and an impact in those final moments, and that was the very person that Tooth was trying to connect with. Now, though, 3 versus 2, as Clash showing a few more cracks than I'm sure many watching at home would like to see. Kaya not going to use speed on his own, going so aggressive on Adino, and he will go down, punished for it. 2v1 now for Tufa. Not for many places that he can really hide here or move around, but he's doing his best. Big shots in, Wesley will seal it. And that is looking very, very good. This was a mode that Clash struggled with last month against Bandit Lucas, and does feel like the same thing is happening again.
2 supers now for Clash. Just going to use them well this time around. And they do have a lot of space. BDL know that those supers are a problem. It's going to be used very early on here by Tufa. It will remove a bunch of bushes, but I don't know if that's going to cut it, because up close, BDL, if you don't look at supers, they definitely have the better comp. Edinho is going to get shielded up by Wesley. That enables him to still keep pushing a bit, but at the end of the day, not really able to create that much space either. Till now he's up close, has the swipe in hand as well, but decides to save it for a bit later.
Just carry on the left-hand side, pops heal as well, and flashing the super just a little bit. Kaya Dog not really got anywhere to go. Piscina gets to take down 2 for leaving VT Zim all alone, and this is a 3 versus 1. Surely not going to be able to make a hero play there, as much so.
Bandit Lucas is the better looking team.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Knockout was pretty one-sided, and to be honest, I feel like Bounty was very, very close to a 50-50. So they have some momentum here, and I think they probably know it too. We'll have to see if they're able to draft earlier and gem for it. I think their drafts have been better overall. I mean, it's been very mech heavy, which we might just see here again, but I don't necessarily mind it. It's going to be banned out by Clash, and I think that's quite a wise decision.
I wonder whether Mr. P might come back in. We haven't seen it in so long in South America, but it was always such a favorite for them in terms of their picks. I'm not convinced, but nonetheless, it could occur here. It's kind of suitable for that kind of brawler. I think for me, though, Pam is a really, really solid mid to have. Ultimately, the Meg ban, very, very important. Stu and Max for Clash, for Bandit Lucas, the Penny, the Janet, and the Jean. I think Bo Rush kind of worked pretty decently well here as well. Tara can have their moments as well on this particular map. Ruffs, though, coming in for Clash. I don't mind it. I much prefer Rico, though, to be honest. It's not banned out. We see that banned, actually, in EMEA quite a fair bit. I think SK Gaming were forced to play Ruffs, actually, because they were having that brawler be banned against them yesterday. What will they pair with it? That's the question. Gem carriers and Gem 4, are kind of a little bit more restricted than some of the other maps and modes, simply because that center area is not just a fort for yourselves to be able to defend, but can also be a very tough thing to break into. And that could be an idea as well with the Ruffs. You're able to break open those left or right-hand side pockets. Bo kind of coming as well. I did wonder. I did think maybe they'd bring in Bo here, and I think that works pretty well. I think Clash have got a very good comp. Amber's still available, though, and that is really where I feel Bandit Lucas should be thinking now, because if they get the Amber, you can just shut down the middle lane, you can shut down the spawn, you can shut down anything you want as a result of that new mythic gear, the sticky oil.
Bander is broken, especially on a map like this where the lanes are like very much clear, if that makes any sense. Like, it's very obvious how the lanes are split. And if you can get your super true, ooh, fire. I'm gonna hold that down for a second because I'm very surprised by this pick. I mean, he did get buffed back to his original state, which, to be fair, it's a bit of a wonder why we haven't been seeing him more, but it's probably just because the draft format hasn't been as pleasant of an experience lately for him, you know, facing a lot of aggressive ideas. It's not necessarily what he wants to play against. This is really curious because I'm thinking he might be playing on lane and then the RT mid, but he could also just be playing mid and the RT on lane, which either way is quite curious for Gemfort.
I don't like it. I mean, Amber is so good here. Crow's available as well, by the way. Byron and Spike. I mean, if it was any other team that hadn't already beaten Clash last month, then I'd be much more concerned. Sprout going to come in. I don't think these are the best ideas to be showing, but I mean, there's a reason why I'm the caster and they're the pros, right? I mean, Byron's basic attack reload speed was what the buff was, you know, back in the previous update. It was just a slight amount though. It was only 150 milliseconds, very, very small, but it did bring Byron a little bit more into places like Shooting Star, really. Not really for me in Gemfort, but it can obviously have an impact on the lane size to be able to kind of show up someone. But surely Crow with speed gear, or Rico as well with vision, and those kinds of ideas can do actually more or less the same, but actually better. So some questionable final picks here for me. Regardless, they are the picks. Let's see how the pros want to demonstrate and display them.
Well, it seems like, you know, we were wondering who between RT and Byron was going to be playing mid. The answer is both of them, which is interesting enough. And also, this Sprout pick is just so curious because even though I think there is maybe some potential for Sprout on Gemfort, you already have a gem carrier, which is Bo, and he doesn't do nearly as well on lane. So I don't know. It's a very interesting draft for sure on both sides. But personally, I end up liking the ideas from BDL just a little bit more.
I agree fully. I mean, you know, Sprout's not a bad idea to be able to shut down some of these lanes, but you are still shooting into the dark. There's not really much for Clash except for the roughs, and, you know, eventually when the walls do break for the Sprout to be able to show up the crossover in the bush. Instead of going in for that very reason, somehow, some way, goes down for his troubles. Gems drop for Clash, and they pick them up. Pizzino coming back in now. I think they could have probably picked up more than they did. Not quite sure why, but now BCSim goes down. It's all over the place, Teddy. Everyone is dropping gems left, right, and center, making questionable choices as well as drops. I already know what's happening.
It's a chaotic game. That's what's happening. But it seems like in Chaos, it is Bander the Lucos that are going to be thriving as for the first time in this match. They know. And honestly, I mean, wild drafts on both sides, but I feel like this Sprout last pick was so weird and just non-functional in this previous game. Now, maybe if they execute things better, they'll have better results too, and so far, it's definitely a better start.
Zinio trying to tap up there, but the last shot was quite wide. BDL now has an early super. Big wall for sure. I'd like to have maybe gone and sit it on the left-hand side, just simply the boat mine's there now, so that makes a lot of sense because they do need to see a bit more of that crossover to keep Bander Lucas in this back spawn area. They've got to get out of it for sure. This is a strategy that I'm sure Clash were trying to achieve from the very beginning, but they didn't get that sense of control. Big supply drop coming down, knockback. We'll see that the kill actually leaks into Toofer and a follow-up onto Wesley as well. Much, much better for Clash. But the question is, will Bander Lucas be able to adapt around this as they have shown in the past? Wesley could have actually broken maybe the entire wall if he just kept walking forwards there as well. Nonetheless, countdown for Clash, and I don't really see Bander Lucas getting close.
They're not. They're simply not. I don't really know what changed. But I mean, I think that execution-wise, it's just cleaner on the side of Clash.
I mean, Sprout was very commonly used in North America back in the day when we previously had Gen 4, so I still rate the pick, and I'd be curious to see later on today in North America whether they are still thinking about using it. I just think there's better options right now in the meta. And when you've seen how much Amber can really shut down now, I mean, that Brawler can run absolutely right. I was doing it myself. I was doing it literally yesterday in the challenge, and you just have complete enough control over everything. But that is what Clash have been doing well to their, to their credit, and their strategy is working, but that's a really, really good super from Medino. BT Zim almost goes down to it. Survives just about enough, but Kaya Doglow on the left, and now Dino and Wesley forcing themselves through. Clash have got to get this back under control, and Tufa goes down, that's not helping.
Now that's a big kill from Betsinho. That's 2 gems as well that were picked up in a hurry by Tufa. The gap is still quite large though, and the bow mines are a disaster. Kyodong finds Wesley. BT Zim is going to be getting to 8 gems now, 2 away from securing a countdown for his team. And I mean, he's playing it so much better than he was earlier. Just creating so much space with those walls and really funneling Bando de Lucas into the angles he wants to be playing. Kyodong got gem number 10, so it's not the strongest of countdowns, but if there's no one to interrupt it, it's gonna do more than a sufficient job. Clash reverse sweep this set to take over the lead once.
You'd think that the momentum was with Clash and that they're going to be able to just continue it forwards in what is a new map to the map pool, parallel plays for Hot Zone. But I don't know. I can very much see this going to a 5th and final set, even maybe seeing Band of Lucas taking the win, because I think Band of Lucas have been more consistent. They've ran into their problems, sure, and they struggled in Gen 4, no question. But I feel more... If I was, placing my predictions now, I think I might not be going with Clash.
I would still probably go with Clash because they're set up, and one good draft in the next 2 sets could theoretically just grant them victory. We'll see a Byron ban now from BDL. They must really rate him highly, and I'm wondering...
That's weirder than the Jesse ban, by the way.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I don't think Jesse is great here, but it's playable. I wouldn't say Byron is. I mean, it used to be played here once in a while, in all fairness, but that was way back when Byron was meta. So, I don't know. I really don't know what to think, because what I was kind of thinking in the previous set is maybe Clash were caught off guard by the Byron, so that's why they struggled a bit in game 1, and then they remember that he's not all that good, and they won the next 2. But now I'm kind of even doubting that theory, so I'm not sure. But we'll see Penny added to the ranks of Clash, as well as the Meg, and we saw Meg played out in Bounty, we saw her in Knockout, but Hot Zone has always really been her comfort zone. And right now, considering how strong she is, I mean, it's a really solid pick for Clash.
I do like it for sure. I already feel like the pet power gear will come into play for Penny. Meg, we saw yesterday having a lot of success in the EMEA as well. But that is not the play. That is not the play. Willow, I can understand in Brawl Ball. I saw SK Gaming lose with it on Hot Potato earlier in the week, and I did wonder why they chose it. I've never seen Willow picked in Hot Zone, and I'm assuming that they're going to have that on the left-hand side lane, ready to utilize the poison within the bush to seek out someone coming towards them, and I hope for that sake it's not Daryl. It's going to be on their side. Okay, so my brain is hurting from the Willow pick, and I was not sure where I was for a second there. I'm assuming the Willow's going to be on the left-hand side lane, utilizing the poison to see who's coming towards them, and then use the mind control to force them away and delay the strategy on the left-hand side.
Or force them into the zone, And then they're capturing.
But that's what I'm thinking. That surely can't be done very well, right? It's like maybe in the later stages when it's all chaotic and they're fighting over the final zone. But the zones are so far away. You're not going to be able to get from one side and up to the other very successfully there to be able to do that. But maybe they are going to do something. I mean, if that is the case, let's be honest. If they are able to pull that kind of thing off and then use the mind control to capture the zone, but I just can't see a scenario where that's a better alternative than just doing it yourself with a different brawler. I don't know, Teddy. Maybe you're seeing something here that I'm not.
I'm seeing the same thing. I'm seeing Willow. And so far, I mean, it's shown some promise in Brawl Ball, but that's really been it for me. I feel like even on this map, Barley does everything better. You know, it's more consistent on the damage. It's easier to land your shots, and you have more
Amber's available.
Control. Yeah, exactly.
Amber, Teddy, it's available.
No, I mean, I'm fully aware. I just mean if you want to go Trower, you know, if you want to go Trower, I feel like this was the worst one of them. Dynamite concluded.
Hey, Dynamite's in a good spot. Don't be slamming my boy Dynamite here, Teddy. Well, 2 of 4 seems well of the zone. Now out of mecha form, and yeah, Wesley's like, what? How's he? I mean,
oh, it's a new gadget.
What's he gonna do? A 2v1 in that scenario, just walked over, wasn't he? Really?
Yeah. I mean, I can see some of the appeal, right? You have unbreakable walls in the zone, so you can defend from there. You can be invincible for like a second, which is also kind of cool when you know, need to lock down an area. But I mean, it's definitely an interesting approach, that's for sure. And don't do a mistake here by thinking that BDL are in the lead. I mean, they are percentage-wise, but QLASH haven't finished capturing their own zone, which is so much easier than capture the zone on enemy territory. Kyodog is going to get a great kill, maybe even a follow-up, but Etinio will survive with 22 HP. And now suddenly that lead might be quite important, because they might not need to defend if they're able to stay into that zone, and so far it's kind of the approach they're going for.
So I really want to give more grief to the Willow right now, but I can't, because Band and Lucas are winning, and I don't want to have to backtrack, but I'm going to stand my ground here. At the beginning, Wesley had to be escorted the whole time with someone by his hand, you know? You don't want that from a Brawl on the left-hand side lane to defend at the beginning. You want to be able to 2v1, actually, not the other way around, and, you know, 2v1 at defense. Nonetheless, QLASH start to regain some control now. They've got a lot of good capture points in that zone, so they can just tiptoe their way in and then leave themselves to have to be able to focus on the one that's primarily within their spawn, and the turret now raining down. But they are in a dangerous position here. They can't get too overconfident. They've got to be able to finish off the other zone, keep Band and Lucas under control, which they are doing now. They are very clustered. Look at this. How suppressive is this comp now to push them back the way they have? QLASH really are firmly in the driving seat.
Yeah, it's a small lead, but it's a very important one at this stage of the game. Patino looking to even things out. He's so low HP, but he's still alive and doesn't quite manage to overtake the lead. It's going to be all even now. If anyone steps in either zone, it's going to be a different affair. Final countdown, 15 seconds left. Kyodog getting a good bit of damage, and as Wesley falls, that means QLASH are now in the zone, and Edinho 1v3 trying to defend, and he's doing wonderfully well, but the damage is done. Percentages are captured, and
back now. They have to live by the sword, die by the sword, and I'm still yet to see why Willow was the play here. But maybe I'll be surprised. There's so many better options for that left-hand side lane. And QLASH already actually want to go on the aggressive. I don't blame them. Just overthrow this situation here. Get straight on the zone early. That is exactly the way to play this. Big swipe there from Super Wesley. Underground. Utilizing the gadget. But nonetheless, outnumbered here as well. Mind control. I mean, it's very flashy stuff, as Willow is designed to be. But is it practical? Is it getting the objective dealt and done with? No, it's not.
Yeah, we have a bit of a face-off there between Edinho and Kyodong, as, I mean, that 1v1 can just simply not really be resolved, and for now, BDL, they're behind, but that's because they're losing their home zone, and that's Wesley being massively overwhelmed. Patino as well now trying to chase his opposition, but not really much that can be done on his side, and it seems like QLASH are simply and truly going to be running away with this one. Victory for QLASH as they move on to the grand finals and knock out Bando de Lucos here in the semis.
Big smiles all around. Celebrations, of course, as we know, looking back to last month, how things went, and QLASH were not in the grand finals, but lessons were learnt. And that's what's important, making those adaptations and taking